Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us here on Chamber on Tap. My name is Nadine Canigan and I am so delighted to be here with the very talented Mr. Wally of Bamboo Shoots and Angel Entertainment. So welcome. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you, Nadine.
How are you doing?
I wonder about very talented, but I'll accept that.
Well, that is the word on the street, Wally.
Okay. I'm doing great.
So, Wally, you have a lot going on. You got lots on your plate, so we've got a lot of things that we can chat about here today.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if we can just do a little bit of a backtrack with you, and if you would just let us know a little bit about yourself, your background,
sure.
how you got into this really fascinating world of media production and organizational leadership.
Okay. I'll tell you a bit of the story because it's an interesting one. I don't think I set out to go into the film industry. I'm a Saskatoon boy through and through. I grew up in City Park. I went to City Park Collegiate.
Nice.
I went to the University of Saskatchewan and graduated with a Bachelor of Commerce degree in business. I guess that was in 1981. And then I went to work for Federated Co-op in their petroleum marketing division. So about as far away from film as you could get.
Sure.
And I guess I'd always had this desire or dream to own my own business. And reflecting on that, I was trying to figure out, well, where did that come from? And I got to say it was my granddad.
Okay.
He owned a small country store in the middle of nowhere in Bent, Saskatchewan. And he was a real entrepreneur. In fact, he built a dance hall behind the store to pull the community together.
Wow.
He played the fiddle really well. And then he taught all his kids to play an instrument to accompany him.
I guess if you have the hall, you need a band, right?
Yeah. And my mom learned to chord on the piano to accompany him, and that made an influence on me. And I guess, so I was working for Federated, but I wanted to achieve that dream, and I had an opportunity. I guess in 1985, Bill Stamp and I formed a company called Cinepost Productions.
Okay.
And we ran that company. It was a film and video production company. We were doing mostly television commercials and videos for companies. And there was a great opportunity. We did a couple of short films, and I guess I was bitten by the bug. So we sold that company in around 85, and my lawyer at the time, Bob Crow, said, "What are you going to do now, Wally?" And I said, "I'm going to get into film. I'm going to get into longer form production." And he said, "Do you want a partner?" I looked at him. I said, "What are you talking about? You got a six-figure job. Life is good. You're a lawyer, and you want to come with me and get into the film industry?" And he said, "Yeah." So it was around 2000 that we started Angel Entertainment, and we got into it right away. He was shooting a feature film called Shadow Puppets, and he was doing it in Los Angeles, of all places, and in the news in the US, it was all about runaway productions that had left the US to go to Canada to shoot, and here we're filming a feature film in LA.
Had he left his practice at that point in time?
He'd left his practice, yeah.
Just for this creativity journey.
Yeah, he had also been bitten by the bug early on, and he articled on a feature film.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so he had seen what it was about and decided to follow me. He was shooting Shadow Puppets. At that time, I was in Saskatoon shooting the pilot for a drama series called Rabbit Fall, supernatural drama series. And so we'd phone each other, and his stories were always different than mine. I was getting my locations for next to nothing. He was paying $20,000 to shoot in a location. And of course, I had crew working. They were all committed because we were shooting a pilot, so they wanted to see this happen and turn into a series, which would be great for employment and great opportunity. So I had such passionate, committed people. Bob, one day he showed up and everybody was on strike. There was a rumor that the film had run out of money, and they wanted to be paid before they would pick up any of the tools to start work. So, interesting story. We ended up he got his feature film done, and I got the series, the pilot shot. And we went on. Together we produced 2 seasons of Rabbit Fall. We produced a number of feature films. Looking back, Stained was one of them, and the last one was Big Muddy.
Okay. And local talent done in Saskatoon or in Saskatchewan somewhere?
Yeah. It was very cool. And then, around 2010, Ken Ayadov, who owned Media Group, and we rented the building from Ken, and he had this great little community of people working there, filmmakers, and he'd passed away. So his wife asked us if we were interested in purchasing Media Group. And having run a company, Bob and I talked about it, and we said, yeah, we'll take it on. And it's a good thing because, 2012 is when they killed the tax credit. Mm-hmm. So my dream of doing long form disappeared, and so we had to do a big pivot, a big shift in terms of what we could focus on. And so threw our energies into that company and grew it. 2017, we bought a Calgary company. It was very similar to us. And then around that time, Bob passed away. And so another huge pivot.
Absolutely.
And then, we motored on. We've got 36 employees. We're probably the biggest for what we do in Western Canada. Mm-hmm. Very proud of the clients that we work with. SaskTel, we do all of their community programming, and then in Alberta, we've taken on the contract with TELUS, and as well, we're still doing documentary series. We'd shifted into that, and we do the other side, which is my paranormal show,
right? Which
we were talking about earlier. And we're in our 7th season of that, and hopefully we'll have many more. And then we're also doing a series called Dirt Farmers, which is following a couple of brothers as they run a small family farm, and it's great. There's such big characters, and our cameraman here today is actually one of the key cameramen on that, our DOP. I'm really proud of the company's growth. Absolutely. And what we're doing, and being able to, get over some of the big obstacles or things that were thrown at us, and we had to pivot and change.
Sure.
And
sounds like a series of hurdles along the way.
Oh, man.
And triumphs.
There's lots.
So if I can back up just a little, there's a lot there. That's a really interesting synopsis, basically. Thank you, from square one to where you are now.
Yeah.
So at a point in time, were you basically a one-man show, essentially, where you're operating a camera, or you're writing, you're producing, you're editing?
Yeah.
How did you start, and then how did you sort of disseminate the rest of those roles as your company grew?
Yeah, I've always been blessed with having great people to work with. Uh-huh. And I think that's the nature of our industry, is it's tremendously collaborative. So you get to work with really talented, creative people on every project, so, and my role has changed a lot to more creative oversight.
Okay.
And but yeah, in the early days, I was hauling gear. I was doing everything just to help the crew.
Sure.
And then when we were doing Rabbit Fall, Bob and I were very interested and very passionate about scripting and writing, and so we worked right in the story room for Rabbit Fall, and with the team, and then we were the showrunner on that series. So we were out in the field with the director, not telling the director what to do, but just sort of guiding him to our original vision and our script.
Right. I find that fascinating, the ability to tell a good story. That in itself is such a craft.
Yeah.
So how do you find that inspiration, or do you already know the end of the story and you start from the beginning and meet in the middle, or are you sometimes surprised with how it's going to turn out?
Yeah, it's always different. Scripted is different than documentary filmmaking. Documentary filmmaking, When we look at dirt farmers, we look at the other side, especially dirt farmers, I think the key is finding big characters, interesting people. And then the key to story making, and this applies to everything we do, and feature films, everything is conflict, right?
Okay.
And conflict in terms of obstacles and overcoming obstacles. And I think that's a great lesson, and that's a lesson that applies to everything, and applies to the work that we do with clients.
I was just saying it applies to marketing. If a client essentially has a conflict or a consumer has a problem, if your advertisement, I suppose, then solves that for them. It's a story in itself.
There's always the organic conflict, the organic obstacles, and you look at my story, all the things that we had to overcome, the curves that get thrown at you, that makes it interesting. And when you're watching a film or you're watching a television show, when things start to get boring, it's when they've removed all the conflict. They've moved the emotional edge, the emotional tension from a scene.
Right.
And all you have to do to find your way through is go back to that, to find that. And now, of course, when you're doing drama, you've got to write all that. So you've really got to find characters that run up against the mainstream, that are doing things differently, are just that weird and different that you just want to watch them.
Right.
Let's see what they're going to do next. And they can be, as long as they're motivated towards something, you can understand what they're doing. They can be, the worst characters imaginable, but you'll watch them, because you know why they're doing that. You can't stop them.
Exactly, you can see their motive. Oh, that's interesting. I would have never thought about the essence of conflict as integral to a good story.
You cannot have story without conflict. That's a principle. But when people hear that conflict, they see two people yelling at each other. That's not what it is. It's overcoming those obstacles, and talking about that, right?
Right.
And I think that kind of unites us all, because we've all had to do that. It's cold outside. That's an obstacle. What is that? That impacts the car, right? Your car may not start.
Exactly. We were saying, well, it's a good thing for remote car starters. Yeah. So you had said that you moved then into documentary as opposed to written script. Was that because of the tax credit? Was there a workaround for you there that allowed you to go into a different network?
It was absolutely shifting, pivoting from scripted. The budgets are way bigger. At the time, 2012, 2010, I guess, 2012, when they eliminated that, Bob and I were out in Toronto. We had written a drama series, 1-hour drama called 1 Square Mile. We had made it all the way through the hurdles with that.
Sure.
And we were out there to talk about shooting the pilot. The day before, government here eliminated the tax credit. So the next day, the meeting with CBC was, what's going on? How are you guys going to be able to do drama series when you don't have the tax credit? And we couldn't. We couldn't. So it killed that. So our pivot was, of course, bamboo shoots, but also trying to find a way, because there was still Creative Saskatchewan. There was still funding available to do smaller productions. And a documentary series was our way of keeping in the game and still producing stuff. And, it's still storytelling, but it's a different form. But it did put a huge damper on the potential of what could have been doing, right?
Right.
And but still, got to say that I get excited and passionate about any project that we do, from the small projects to the big projects, just because it's always a really interesting, creative puzzle that you're solving for people and helping them in terms of creating something that's going to be effective and engage the audience, right?
Sure.
In the storytelling.
Do you feel that there is a way back into more of that written script, essentially during our current climate where people are hungry for things to watch on TV? Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people who've watched just about every Netflix series out there. So how can, is there a way that you're imagining shifting back into that role if there's a demand for it?
Yeah, what we've been trying to do is we've been taking our message to a lot of people, a lot of groups, to businesses, to the Chamber of Commerce, to SARM, rural municipalities, and just saying, encouraging people to take another look at this industry, that there is tremendous potential here, there's tremendous potential for growth, for creating high-paid, skilled labor jobs that are very rewarding. We're just trying to take that message out there and to engage with people and say, we need to take another look. And the thing about the tax credit is it's available everywhere else. So we don't have a choice. It's like couponing, right? Okay. You're a retail outlet. Everybody else is doing couponing. If you don't if you don't offer a coupon, are you going to be able? If you're offering the same goods and services, right, and everybody else is doing a coupon, you don't have any choice, right? To be competitive, you have to. Sure. And that's kind of the way it is in this industry. Is we really have to, if we're going to do that, like people have a choice. And in fact, those productions, those feature films that want to shoot here, those big TV series that want to shoot here, are just going to fly over us, because they can go to another province and they got crew there, and without the tax credit, we're not in the game and we can't compete. Right.
Well, it sounds like you're still remaining optimistic despite those challenges.
Yeah.
And so it probably just speaks to your ability as a person and as a leader to keep yourself motivated, to keep your team motivated.
Yeah.
Where do you find that little bit of fire when you're thinking, geez, things are sort of sinking around me? How do we keep inspired? How do we find another opportunity, a niche for ourselves?
I am, to an extreme positive.
Well,
it's innate in me, and it's
good.
I guess you can always find a way. You can always find. We've had a lot of curves thrown at us, right? From COVID, especially in COVID. And I think if you always stay focused, solutions-based, you can spend a lot of time talking about what's gone wrong, but you really have to quickly focus on, well, what's the solution? How do we operate in COVID, where everybody's 6 feet apart and wearing masks, and how do we do production? And there's always a solution. And in my life, the biggest lesson for me, I'm a doer. I'm very demanding on myself. I want to achieve a lot, and I can drive people crazy, and I can tell them what to do.
Sure.
That is a really bad quality in a leader, and it's a really important thing to put your trust in your team, and don't do the thinking for them, but help facilitate and encourage that thinking, because together we can solve things, right? And lean on that team, and that's what got our company through all of this. I've got a great management team that I can lean on. And it's not necessary for me to do all the thinking. It's not necessary for me to do everything. It's really to learn that principle of leading and encouraging them and trusting they'll achieve everything.
Right, getting the right people in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then training them.
Okay, exactly.
and I have to work on this all the time. I have to, it's not in my character, so I've got to really, recognize that that's a fault, that I can sit here and tell everybody what to do. I've got to, always encourage people to do that and trust that they will. And it's easy. We got such a good management team, and they're very good, and they run the company.
Yeah, well, that's the best situation to be in. So you touched on a number of times where you've had to shift and pivot during your career.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned then COVID. So for some industries, this pandemic has really caused them to, you know, it's a sink or swim
Yeah.
sort of a scenario. But even just what we're doing today, where we're virtually reaching people, how has that impacted your industry? Have you experienced growth? Have you experienced you know, new opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise?
Yeah, well, believe me, when everybody right at the beginning, we were all saying, okay, how are we going to do things? You know, and that was a big rethink of what we're doing, because you got to understand this. We were, you know, with SaskTel Max, the community programming that we do, programming about the community that we do for SaskTel Max and Alberta for TELUS. We had shifted a lot to covering live events, sporting events.
Right.
Those all disappeared.
Sure.
So we had to, and then how do we film, you know, how do we send a crew out? How are we going to do this and shoot, and what are we going to shoot to tell these stories? So, but the team was just amazing. We pivoted for those, for the community side. We set up a lot of artists, performers, bands in studio. We could stage everything in studio, keep our distances, and provide some really cool content, right? And then just doing individual interviews, just like this setup here, where everybody's distance. You know, the crew is wearing you know, masks, and we're following we developed a very specific protocol for how we're going to do things. We also had, you know, here we had a documentary series that was going to start without us, and it's called Seeding.
Okay.
The farm was moving ahead whether we were there or not. They were doing seeding, so we had to come up with, well, how the hell are we going to shoot that and stay COVID safe? And you know, our director, who's extremely talented, Kobe, he was a one-man band out there. He directed it, he shot it, he did sound. He was, you know, it was like that performer at the circus where you got the drum and
Monica, and all going.
He was doing everything, and then as we figured out the protocols, we could expand the team from there and add more people to it, and everybody had the protocol for, you know, cleaning the equipment, keeping their distance.
Sure.
Yeah, we found a way.
Well, and businesses are at this point probably really hungry for people to still know that they're available in some capacity, how to connect to their clients and get their messaging out there. So have you found small businesses knocking on your door, you know, asking for collaboration and advertising or marketing help? Yeah,
well, and there's two things there. That was another, we felt that we could help people in doing those video conferencing.
Right.
That as the groups got bigger, we could handle, you know, like, you know, workshops or online courses. We could help them do that. We could have film 3 people and switch it and provide a live presentation with audience interaction. Our most fun project with Summer Players, we you know, they had this play that they wanted to do, and the Addams Family.
Yeah.
And Anita, who's a friend of mine, wanted to do this play. We wanted to help out with the theater company and for performers who are near and dear to us. So she had this idea to do it. I said, Anita, we're going to just do it. You know, we'll figure it out.
Sure.
And so we filmed her play live. We streamed it out. It was the most fun. It was such a cool thing. And you know, so we've looked for ways that we could still play a part and we could help people. And we do, you know, so we've done, that was a big pivot, was doing more live event. We also had been doing video conferencing because we're in Regina and we're in Calgary, and we, you know, communication is a big part of what we do. And our management team, we follow a philosophy of, you know, meetings. We have you know, daily check-ins, but we have a regular management meeting once a week. And then we do strategic meetings that are more, once every 3 months or quarterly. We also do an offsite meeting where we bring everybody together. Well, we can't do a lot of those things, but we'd been using video conferencing before, and then this just became a big part of how we do things and how we communicate.
You're kind of set up preemptively.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I'd love to chat with you just a little bit about some of your passion projects. What are you most proud of? What's going on currently with bamboo shoots? What's up for the season? I'd like to just hear you chat a little bit about some of these exciting series that you have going on.
Yeah, I have a lot of passion projects.
Okay.
How do I keep up with them all?
The whole thing is a passion for you, it sounds like.
It is,
Great.
because I'm very passionate, about the things we do, about the stories that we tell. And, that's because we're creating something, right? We're telling somebody's story, or we're manufacturing a story to tell. So it's easy. And I think that's what really engages our employees too, is we're working together, we're collaborating to tell a story. So there are quite a few. I guess the other side, which is our paranormal show, from an Indigenous perspective, is a lot of fun. I love to do a season 8. Every year I go, are we going to get another season? And we have such a talented team that work on that, and a cast, and the stories that we're able to tell. And it just draws you in, because I think everybody has questions about the afterlife, or not afterlife, but is there spirits? And are there, that whole question, what happens when you die? And here we get to go out there and investigate that, and to see what we can find out, and to be surprised by what we see. So that is a lot of fun. And
have you been involved with a specific episode or situation where it just really made your spine tingle?
Well, I've been on location for shooting, but I and my son, who's joined the company, been bitten by the bug, and is working alongside of me, is very, he's been working with me on the other side, and Dirt Farmers. And so what we do, we watch all of the edits. So it's like we're in the room, we can see what's going on, and we're providing that creative oversight, because sometimes as an editor or the director, you can't see the forest for the trees. And our goal is to be that audience, and to provide some oversight, a sense of how it's coming together, and are we staying true to the series and to the brand. And so you can't help but get drawn into all these stories and to these things that happen.
I would assume you went into the series feeling like most of us would. We don't know if we believe this, or we don't know. We've not maybe had firsthand experience with.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Being in a room where you feel an ominous spirit. Not necessarily ominous may not be the right word, but something outside of what we can see.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I was a non-believer. I mean, I didn't think that there was spirits. Although, looking back, there's little things that had happened that I go,
Sure.
But I wouldn't say that I, had ever encountered a spirit. And I know my son Tyler and I went out to Duck Lake, because we were filming an episode of The Other Side there, in the old hotel in Duck Lake. And man, some of the things that happened that night, we were sitting, Video Village. So that's where, all the cameras come into these monitors. And because that's where the director sits, first AD sits, and we're observing all of this. Because in that show, it's when we're doing an investigation, we're really relying on the team to just follow what's going on.
Sure.
And so you don't have as much of a hands-on and directing it. And with documentary, it's very hard to do that, because you'll influence the outcome. So we're clustered around these monitors, watching what's going on. And I remember they're in one of the hotel rooms, and it's older and all the doors are open, right? And there's this noise right across the hall in this other room, and it sounded like something was thrown from where they were into the other room, and it sounded like a tack or something, like a nail or something. So right away, Jeff goes to investigate, and sure enough, there was a tack, a little thumbtack that had bounced around in there, had hit the floor. You could see it there. And then we looked, and here on the nightstand, there was these tacks. So something had picked that up and thrown it. And I remember it was just out of the blue, this noise happened, and we go, holy, what the hell is that?
What is that?
And then we go and investigate, and that's the only thing we could account for that make that noise. And then I remember Tyler and I were just debating because on the Spirit Box, which is this device, now each one of these devices are very specific to this world of paranormal. And it's a device that just combs through the FM channels, and it just sounds like a lot of noise. But every once in a while, something will come through, right? And what's interesting, when it's motivated by the question asked, and when it's very specific to that question, you go, what the hell? How do you explain that?
Sure.
So that was the big debate that we had on the way back from Duck Lake. Tyler and I could that be some radio signal that we picked up, some FM station that we picked up, and the caller was asking questions, and they were responding, and we happened to pick that up. Anyway, it was hard to explain.
Well, there must be enough people interested in this because you're, going on to season 8, so that's very exciting.
Man, and our social media, our Facebook has thousands of people on there.
So where can we watch this? How do we tune into some of these series that you've been mentioning to us today?
It runs on APTN, the Aboriginal People's Television Network. We always launch it on Halloween.
Okay, fun.
So, and this year for Halloween, we did kind of a cool thing. We did a live investigation at APTN, at their head office, in the basement, because their different people within the building had some sort of an encounter, and they suspected there was spirits there. And so we rolled in with our broadcast truck, which is all set up. We have all the cameras right in there. We're switching it live, and we're feeding it out to the internet. So we did a live show on Halloween of an investigation, and oh man, it was crazy.
We'll have to check that out.
Yeah. So Halloween, you can catch it, and then APTN has on their website, and also you could go to the other side, tv.ca, and you'll see our website, and you'll see little clips from the show. And then APTN also has the episodes there that you can stream, and then that Halloween night, that investigation that we did, it's going to be one of the episodes of season 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fun. Very good. Well, we could chat all day about this. You're so interesting. There's so many things I want to chat with you about. Just real quick to wrap up, Bamboo Shoots is moving. You're moving into a new home, so you're getting all geared up for that. And
man.
What spawned that transition for you?
Well, number of things. We were in a really big space, and we weren't using, we were in 15,000 square feet, and we weren't using all the space. And so we were, a couple of options was to reduce the footprint, which didn't really work for the landlord. And so we started to look for other spaces. And with COVID, we learned that a lot of people liked working from home. Our editors, we picked up the edit suites and moved them into people's homes. And they wanted to maintain that. So we didn't need the same space. Plus there was and turned out our landlord, the owner of the building, sold it.
Okay.
And the new landlord is tearing it down.
Well, then you kind of had to go.
So we don't have much of a choice. And so we're moving into a space. It's a really cool, it's on 502 Idlewild North. So it's, as you drive down Idlewild and just go over the tracks, there's a go-kart track right in front of the building. And then the next building over is 502. There's a pharmacy there. And we've got this great space in there. And it was a chance for us to purpose build the layout. So we've got a much bigger studio to work with. Our edit suites now, instead of in the basement, they're on the main floor. We've got the server room, which I always wondered about our server room being in the basement because we had a couple of floods.
Okay,
and I always imagined the water rising and taking out all of our computer equipment. And here, so now we have a second floor in the space, and our server room is upstairs.
Oh, great. Yeah,
and,
don't worry about that.
So we, and a friend of mine, Nikki Big Grand Fast Design out of Kelowna, helped with the design features of the place, and it looks really cool. Of course, we had to move out, so we had a very short time, December 1, when we started building, and we're moving in already.
Oh, wow. That's a real fast track.
It's still being, the carpeting is still going in, but we've moved a lot of our equipment in, and then next week is we move we'll move everything in.
Oh, well, good luck with that. It sounds like some great things on the horizon for you.
No, it's going to be very fun.
Awesome. Well, typically at this point, we're turning it over to our audience to ask Wally some questions, but we'll be doing that over our live Zoom feature, so we'll catch you in just a few moments there.
Yeah, and I am thrilled to answer any questions that,
Awesome.
and talk about the industry, and because I know people may have children that are interested in our industry, and perhaps this is a way to give them some opportunity. And
Absolutely.
ideas.
We see the final product, but not very many get a behind-the-scenes glimpse. So thank you for sharing your story with us,
Yeah,
Wally.
well, thank you for asking me.
Awesome. Well, normally at this time, we do turn it back over to our audience so they can ask some questions of Wally, but we'll catch everybody back at the Zoom, so we'll see you there shortly.